Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-commerce.
What is going on, Internet? Eric Bandholz back again with another E-commerce Conversations. Hope all is going well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the Internet from me, Jenny Durre. How's it going?
Hey, it's going well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine. Excited for this talk, like I'm excited for all my talks. But Jenny Durre was Beardbrand's first hire, and then she took a little break from us to work with Carson over at Fuel Made a number of years ago, and then she's come back to help us out with a little bit of email and website stuff. Welcome.
Thank you.
Also, I won't hold a grudge that you chose to work at Fuel Made for those 2 years.
Hey, I learned a lot, and I mean, it was great having those connections where, I worked with them when we had worked with them on Beardbrand side, and then learned more about the project management atmosphere, which was something I was really interested in too.
So I'm super excited for this episode. We're going to roll up our sleeves a little bit and kind of get into the weeds rather than the high level. Beardbrand just rolled out a brand new website, and Jenny is the person who essentially did everything. So I kind of wanted to walk through our time frames, how we did it, the roadblocks we ran into, and all that jazz. So first things first, I'll kind of give a little bit of history. I'm calling this version 4 of our website. Our first one, we did a free template on Shopify back in 2013. And then in 2014, we launched a custom-made from the ground up website with Fuel Made, Carson, who's also been on E-commerce Conversations. You can look that up in the past. And then in 2020, we made the decision to purchase a premium template and roll that out. And then, of course, a few days ago, we launched with version number 4, another premium template. So, I guess I can talk a little bit more about it, but I'll get the conversation going, Jenny. What are your thoughts, both being kind of in a agency who makes custom websites and comparing it to the premium template model? Talk about kind of like the ins and outs of those.
Yeah, so I think, this was a 2.0 theme, which was important because Shopify has rolled out so many things tying into, along with apps, into 2.0 and being able to customize more. There's always going to be challenges where you might not get exactly the customization you want when you have somebody building from the ground up a website. But what we did before we chose this 2.0 template is a lot of research, looking into all the ones that are available. Now, Shopify themselves have some 2.0 templates that are free, but they didn't quite meet what we needed for customization. And I think we were able to find that by looking. It just took a lot of looking into what we have, what do we want to move over. And I honestly have loved the process. We've hit some walls where we couldn't get something to happen exactly how we wanted, but then we were all thinking together outside of the box in that way. So it was nice. So
I want to kind of talk about the beginning of that decision, moving to Shopify 2.0. So how we were currently solving our problems for website customization was using Shogun, who we've also had on E-commerce Conversations, which does, essentially they've created like a WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get. So you're able to kind of create these custom pages. And that was, we did all that before Shopify 2.0. Like Shopify 2.0, I feel like came out, within 6 months after we relaunched our website. So
the way it always goes, right?
Yeah. So I want to, first of all, when did we make the decision to roll out a new website? When did we start researching those templates?
We started thinking about it in maybe October of last year. And then I really dove into the templates after we had everything set up for our holiday promotions, once that was live and rolling, I kind of dug into what we wanted to do. And I, like you were saying before, it had been a while since I had been in our themes and templates and known where we were at. So once I dove back in with Beardbrand, I was able to see what we were doing and how it all worked just in time to then translate it to a new site with code written all different and learning something exciting. So I love the challenge. And starting with the research, I think that was in November. So it was when we started looking at templates.
What Jenny did is she created this Excel spreadsheet where she literally looked at every single 2.0. It had to be every single 2.0.
I definitely was looking through more than I think most would have, but I wanted to pull in all those key features that I was seeing in some of the more progressive 2.0s or those that were just released. But some of the newer 2.0s, they hadn't really been in rotation for very long. And so you couldn't find out much from the reviews. It was a kind of a balance of, oh, this one's been around for a long time and isn't as updated with some of the sections and features. And then the new, which we went with a fairly new theme. You don't know exactly how it's going to work or the bugs and stuff because they're all kind of customized to be an out of the box theme. But
what were the parameters that you were kind of evaluating templates based on?
So top, I would say site speed, which is still something we're working on now because even if you're moving to another theme, there's a lot that you have to fine tune with everything that exists. But site speed was really important. And then I think as a whole, we were looking towards the easiest path for user experience where it still looks really high quality and easy to digest, but clear and concise because we had a lot of layers before in terms of our navigation and collections and things like that. And then really making it easy for people to add things to their cart and find the information they need without having to click through a bunch of links or pages or paths.
So if you go over to the Practical E-commerce website, I'm going to include a link to the spreadsheet that Jenny created so you can kind of see our top templates. I think we ended up having about 8 or 10 that we thought were good to go with out of, what is there, about 30 of them or 40 of them?
Yeah. And I mean, it's ever growing too.
Right. So
I just saw more added the other day.
We're not keeping this spreadsheet up to date, but this is as of kind of like the beginning of 2022. And Jenny's gone ahead and she did like the page speed, like Google, what was it? The Google page speed insights for every single template and put them into the spreadsheet as well as the cost and who the theme developers were. And the interesting thing is our old template was called Prestige and the creators of that, I think it's Archetype.
Yeah, Archetype.
And I think they've got great themes as well. But they upgraded Prestige to a 2.0 theme, but it felt like it was kind of half-baked. Like not all the elements of Shopify 2.0 and the customization abilities of it were ingrained into the template. So it didn't feel like, even though it was a great theme for us on Shopify 1.0, a 2.0, it felt like it was still a little archaic.
Yeah. It's kind of like they took what they had and tried to rig it up to work with 2.0, but because it was built that way, there were just gaps that weren't gonna. And plus, we wanted a refresh. I think we wanted another perspective, another way to evolve the brand.
Yeah. So this is year number 10 for Beardbrand, and we're kind of in this process. Not only are we doing a new website, but we're doing like a whole new brand as well. Like we're redoing our packaging, we're redoing the website, and well, I guess those are the two things. We're still staying true to our mission and product formulations and stuff like that, but just kind of like trying to keep it fresh for the next 10 years. Talk about, like how we wanted to build the website and kind of like the thought process behind a lot of the decisions we were making when we set it up, because ultimately comparing this current version of our website and the old version, to me, they're completely different.
Yeah.
A completely different experience that a visitor may have.
Yeah. Well, for me going in, I think a big priority that I looked at was the product pages. So we have so much information on there, and we also have a lot of content that we can already use. And of course, want to create more to help, tell our story to the customer. And it seems in my mind like small changes, but when you look at the difference between, the previous site and this site, it is drastically different. Breaking things up into digestible pieces and utilizing like the videos and content that we had. And, now that we're narrowing some of the things that we are offering, it makes it a lot easier to focus on our key products, like showing some more information, tutorials. And then for our pages too, I went through and just really customized templates for things that we hadn't really outlined before, because I wanted to make them more visually pleasing and break things up again into digestible pieces, because I think it tells more of a story. And, we have a great copywriter and we have a lot of great content already. And along with, our photographer, and like we just have a lot of resources to tap into. And now we have a way to focus. So we have a lot more we can do. I feel like this is like just the beginning. We can add more to the product pages and just get more granular without being overwhelming.
Yeah, I think one of the keywords that you said there is focus, which has been an ongoing theme at Beardbrand, because we tend to not be focused. So we have to remind ourselves to be focused. And, for me, one of the things that I wanted to focus on was this concept of decision fatigue. Basically, at times you run the risk of overwhelming your customers with too many decisions. Mm-hmm. And at Beardbrand, being in business for 10 years, these things just kind of creep. Like I think it starts with good intentions, and you have an idea and then an idea. And then the website is this perfect catalyst to kind of like start with a whiteboard and start from the ground up. Mm-hmm. So, talk about the strategy of navigation and what we were doing with the old theme and where we're going with the navigation currently.
Yeah. So the previous theme, and when I had first dove back in, it had a lot of options. Now it was focused more on type. So beard products, hair products, body, broken up in that way. And when I had gone in there, I think, I felt like I was simplifying, but it's drastically different from what we're doing now, where we have one category in the navigation menu shop, and then we've built this landing page that's broken up by section and category within that page. So instead of having it all in this menu, it's easy to just click one place. And within that page as well, they can automatically add these products. It tells them about how you can, build a bundle on our site. So that's something that we've shifted to, that I think is really exciting to see how it performs versus before, having all these different kits already built with the value in. So this is more interactive with the customer. But again, focusing, getting them to go into this one place where we've created this experience, have the information that they need, but then not cluttering it with, what do I choose? Because I notice that with a lot of brands now that I even shop with, if you go to their navigation menu, it is pretty extensive. There's so many options that I tend to gravitate towards the shop all anyway, because I know everything's going to be there.
Yeah, I think if a lot of people listening have smaller catalogs, we essentially have, I don't know, let's call it like 15 products, but we have multiple variants of those. So it ends up being, 15 times 6, which is about 100, 120, something like that when you include the bundles. And, if you think about it, we're trying to simplify, this 120 and like all the different ways we could organize 120 different SKUs. And that's how we ended up with the beard, the hair, the body. And some of the products may have been in both categories because they can work on both the hair and the beard, or the body and the beard. So I think that created like the first point of decision is like, okay, I'm here to shop. Do I want to go beard, hair, body, tools? Which do I want to go? Whereas now we've eliminated that, and the navigation is simply shop. And shop will take us to all the products. And the other option you'll have is learn. So the navigation, you have, really two paths. You're either going to buy from us or you're going to learn and kind of grow. And both paths are well and something that we want you to do. But it is kind of like, all right, so we've minimized one decision point, like we don't want you to think about it. And we want to just kind of expose you to all the products from there. And then it's, like 15 products is not that much to scroll down when they're too wide mobile. So that's just like 7 rows, or on a desktop, that's only like 4 or 5 rows, 3 rows, something like that.
And I keep it in terms of we've eliminated these decisions. So then, I don't know, it kind of to me feels like they're being taken care of in this way where they can just choose this one path, choose your own adventure. And then from there, we've created the experience and made it easy and attainable.
Yeah, I want to also elaborate on the whole like build your own bundle, because one of the catalysts for that was I was working on like, what are all the bundles we need to build? Like, do we build a hair bundle and a body bundle? And what are the products that go in there? And how do we make sure we serve all the people? And then how do we sell it? And it was just like, to me, it was getting overwhelming because not all the products would be in there, or they would be doubled up, or it wouldn't be the right price point, or they would be like kind of different quantity amounts where it wouldn't make sense to order on a regular basis. So I was just like, do we need to even have bundles? And also, like, from a reporting standpoint, like if you sell a bundle SKU, then you have to like break up that SKU to analyze how many you're moving. Whereas now what we're doing is this automatic, it's essentially like automatic discounting. Is it through Shopify flows or?
Scripts, actually. We wrote a script for it. I found a way to pull in the discount automatically and find like all the things that we wanted to line up worked out properly with scripts.
So Shopify scripts, is that, I know it's available. We're on Shopify Plus, but I think they rolled that out to like their pro plans too, right? Do you know off the top of your head?
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but if they did, I'm sure it's fairly limited. They do kind of weight those things towards Plus. But I always chat with Shopify, even if we're not Plus. They're so helpful, their support team, especially with scripts and flows. I mean, they know so much.
So I want to like go back to kind of building this. So you're not like a web developer by trade. You didn't go to college for like CSS and HTML. No. But you've got a willingness to roll up your sleeve and just kind of ask questions and not be afraid to ask the wrong person. Who did we lean on to build out the website? Because we do have some customization. So first of all, talk about how we customize the website and how those projects were done, what you could do in-house and what you had to work with outside of Beardbrand.
Yeah, so I think definitely project management came in handy when I was working on this. So breaking it out took quite a while, but it also helped me know the ins and outs of what we needed and what wasn't necessary to bring over. I went app by app, and if I wasn't sure, there's a lot of information now. The best way, of course, to find out if an app is going to translate well over to the 2.0 themes is to talk to them directly or look for their resources. And honestly, we were able to do so much out of the box that I didn't really need to lean on Shopify experts, although there is that platform there available if you need more customization. And I've worked with them, on Prestige when there was a wall that I hit. But for me, I like to tinker a lot with CSS and also layout. And then, of course, you were helping quite a bit with, like organizing things the way that you wanted. And then I could take that and run with it. And the team's help was awesome. But then in terms of people that I worked with the most, Judge Me is our reviews app, and they are so awesome because, it wasn't necessarily set up the same in the example, which was using Shopify reviews, and product page was really important to me. So lots of collaboration with them on getting that right. And now I love them so much more.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's crazy about Judge Me is we pay $15 a month for these reviews. I'll be honest with you, Ginny, like my expectation is that when we drop those reviews in there, it would just be its own kind of like 100% wide, how everybody else did it. And I had no expectation that it would actually be part of the template design, because the template designs the reviews in a different way where it's kind of like split in half.
Yeah.
And so Judge Me was the company that integrated that, so we're working with Crown themes. Did Crown work on that?
Crown didn't really work with a lot of the customizations. I would say in the beginning, if there was something that we couldn't quite figure out, they were helpful in pointing us in the right direction. But in terms of help with any kind of customizations, I mean, for that particular project, that was all Judge Me and, me tinkering with things and asking what was possible. There are quite a bit of CSS styling options that you can do with Judge Me too. And I wanted to learn. And I was so attached to how it looked in the theme that I think, I just asked the right questions. And I think that's something that I don't have development background, but it's so interesting to me to learn and just mess with things. And then of course, Beardbrand fosters that freedom. I mean, it's really made me grow as a person to be able to jump into something and not hold back, because I tend to worry about the perfection aspect and then the progress isn't made. And so this was nice. And I just couldn't let that go. And Judge Me was great. They worked with me on that.
One thing I did differently when we launched version 3 in 2020, it was pretty much like we decided over the course of a week, we had a lot of cost cutting measures. And one of those was FeelMade kind of got the axe. And I love Carson. I think they do great work. If you need customized development or something really unique with your website, absolutely highly recommend them. But we had 3 people we had to let go, and moving to a premium template allowed us to kind of do everything in-house, even though it got us like 90% of the way there instead of the 100% with Carson.
Yeah.
And FeelMade. So we launched that one in about a week, which I know you can do in Shopify, but my strategy this time was to not rush it. So like Jenny said earlier, we started in October. When did we start actually kind of working on the website, and how long did it take to roll out, and kind of what expectations would you set for somebody rebuilding a website, even if it's on a premium template?
Yeah. So if I'm looking at our process overall, I would give it 6 months if you can. And that's on the, heavy end, depending on how much you have in terms of resources to tap into your team. So, we started vetting in October, November, decided on the template, probably January, I think is when we decided. I mean, we were narrowing it down. And I started working within the theme end of January, maybe beginning of February. And from there, working on, the things that we've already decided on, and then putting in the vision that you have in a sense where you're not doing too much work up front, because, there's a lot of people that tie into putting all these assets together and making it the experience that we want the customer to have. I think for me, it's like, I've learned, yes, I'm working remote, but also I have all these people available to me. So not just designing the site for me, but asking questions along the way, getting it to a spot where I have it so people can review and you could review it, but then letting people dive in. So we had, a demo theme that people could check out.
So a couple of the other major changes that we had, obviously integrating reviews was a big part of it. We changed like the CSS color of the add to cart button, as well as like the reviews slider color, or, the star bars. I don't know what that section's called. But we took the blog from this kind of split layout, like the reviews, to 100% layout. Was that a project you did, or did you work with Crown for that?
That was a project I did. Crown helped me a little bit. The challenge with what they had provided was that it was forcing the template to break up in a way that's strange. So what worked better is kind of rebuilding it with the elements that they had, just so that it was pulling in the right structures at the top, the image, and then the content as well. And then the biggest challenge with that was that, we have so many blog posts that are already posted, and some of the elements, HTML elements that were set in those, making them behave with this new set of CSS styles was really challenging. But then once I learned that, I just really ran with the CSS styles in a lot of the other parts of the site. So that work up front, I think that was the first thing I really started working on. And I had to step away from it for a bit, and then I came back to it. And once I figured that out, it felt like I just jumped this giant hurdle and things got a lot easier.
Now, like if Crown ever updates this template, we're not going to be able to easily update that, right? We would essentially have to rebuild everything. Or does Shopify make it easier to upgrade templates?
This is something that I have in my resources to review, but I've already done some investigation there. So if you use a Shopify 2.0 theme, like they're the ones that made it, it's in there in your themes that you can just automatically upgrade it, right? Without messing with your customizations and things like that. Now, it wasn't showing up for what we chose because, Split was a purchase theme. So it's still bought through the Shopify theme store, but what you do is go into Shopify themes where you bought it in the store and you can push it through that way. Now I haven't done it yet. So stay tuned on how that works. But essentially they say that you can upgrade it without losing any of your customizations. I just don't know how that translates to the actual theme code customizations, right? So to be determined soon.
Yes, we'll find out. I know historically Shopify has been very challenging to keep your themes up to date, but fortunately for whatever reason, they don't seem to have a lot of, malicious attackers. When I used to build websites on WordPress, if you didn't keep it up to date, you were getting hacked. Like you had to do it every single month.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So different from that. I'm grateful for that.
Maybe the last thing I want to talk about is maybe more on my end, but one of the strategies that we did on the homepage was to lead with words, where I feel like most companies lead with beautiful videography or a beautiful photograph. We have this kind of like inspirational message that hits up front. I guess, obviously I'm biased because I feel like I was kind of like telling everybody to do that, even though there's a little bit of uncomfortableness with this because every single e-commerce leads with products or they lead with photography or they lead with video. And I'm like, well, let's lead with words because I almost feel like it's a pattern interrupt that will stop visitors to kind of like experience what we're saying.
Yeah.
I know you tend to be on board with a lot of things, or if you say no to things, you don't say it to my face very often. But what are your thoughts on kind of that and your experience with that? And have you noticed, I don't know, any kind of insights to that strategy?
Yeah, I mean, so prestige, you mentioned before we're using Shogun for a lot of things, and we were pretty Shogun heavy on the homepage, right? So I learned a lot about Shogun, how that ties in, and then we're actually kind of scaling back on that. I don't have any of our pages on Shogun right now. Still trying to figure out some of those like special customized pages. But for the homepage in general, we did test out quite a bit with, adding in imagery, and I wouldn't say that they were performing that much better than what we had as text-based. Now, I think what we're doing a little bit more improved on this site is that we're telling a story more, right? Instead of just having like one block of copy, I think we've elevated that a little bit where this first section is really reiterating who we are, because there are a lot of people that are going to land on the page that search our brand, and it does tell our story a little bit better. And then diving right into what we've done with the Build Your Bundle, and then showing off that really awesome content that we have in the blog, because I think what Beardbrand's doing differently is about the time that we take to really dive into content for our customers, because they're just as involved as we are. They ask amazing questions, coming through on reviews, the Q&A, and I read all of our reviews because I always learn something from it, whether it's the website or just experience in general.
I think the other thing that I want to talk about is the decision fatigue and how we're handling subscriptions. I feel like me personally, among my peers, I'm getting lambasted all the time to like focus on subscriptions. But I just keep on, I guess it's kind of falling back onto my own personal preferences. And maybe this is just a limitation, self-limiting head trash or whatever. But everyone uses the products at like different speeds. And I don't like the experience of getting products that are either too late or too early. You just kind of get frustrated. And in my opinion, the way you solve that problem is make reordering super easy.
Yeah. I have my own opinions about subscriptions too. And so maybe we're like riffing along the same way. I personally feel that you either lean so heavily into subscriptions that that's your primary focus, right? I think we've talked before about pros. I liked that experience, but it's geared primarily towards subscriptions, right? You can add one-time products, but you either have to lean almost all the way in, or otherwise, I just don't know that it's a seamless experience. I like how we have it on the site, and I went back and forth. A huge challenge I was having was getting recharge integrated properly. And then they've recently changed their cart checkout to be part of Shopify, but we're kind of rolling these things out slow. I was working with them. I'm probably confused them a whole lot, asking all my questions because, you can't customize it as much. And I really was liking the brand and the page design. And I didn't, you saw it too. There's just not much you can do with the language or whatever. And it's, it comes first before the add to cart, but I'd rather we have it set up on the checkout now where we had it before, but now it's a little bit more prominent where they can upgrade the products that they have in their cart to a subscription automatically without thinking about the timing and everything. 3 months, that's pretty optimal for our product usage. If they want to do it, they can, but it's not another decision that they have to make at every product page.
Yeah, I think it's almost like our strategy for subscriptions is offering it to people who are really seeking it out rather than pushing it on everybody, trying to lock them in, trying to move more products than you need to. I just feel like it's more kind of like consumer focused than, brand focused, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs and e-commerce managers get in the habit of, like, how can I increase reorder rates, or how can I do this, or how can I, grow your company you're working on, rather than thinking about how can I provide a better experience for our customers. And, kind of not, I don't know, I'm a little jaded towards subscriptions. So I don't want to go off down that tangent.
Maybe that's like going to be challenging for us to get by, but I do have some tests in the future that I want to try. Part of that is creating a landing page where it does talk about subscriptions, maybe giving a little information about how to choose the right timing, and then say they can add those products on that page and subscribe there. And then that page is like linked in the footer or something, so that if somebody's really looking for it, then they can find it. It's not like I want to say we don't do subscriptions at all, but I don't know. Right now it's a little bit hidden. It's at checkout, but Yeah,
and that's where we had it before as well. Mm-hmm. I think, the other thing I wanted to kind of chime in on, and I would encourage all people to check out our website and see what we're doing. Mm-hmm. I talked about how we had our navigation just be shop and learn. That's literally it. There's no sub nav or anything like that. You have 2 options. I guess a third is a little login button that you can do as well. Yeah. But the rest of the information, the navigation's in our footer. So like if you wanted to learn about us or learn about our product or our team or, customer, exchanges or support or whatever, all that's in the footer. So that navigation is still there. You just kind of have to look for it a little bit, or you could, I assume you could use our search icon. Yeah. So kind of like guiding that experience a little bit differently than before. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, so what did the launch look like? And then like, how do you, like, I feel like launching the website isn't a destination, it's a journey, because once you launch, things still continue on. Like you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but what is the plan with the website now that we have a brand new website?
Yeah. So moving from the previous theme to this theme, I knew that there's only so much you can tell before you launch. And then, there's a ton of other things that then become apparent after you launch. Like the challenge I'm going through now is properly lazy loading images, where I know that was an issue on the previous site, but then it kind of translated over here, right? So that's something that came up, and now I'm looking into that. But I couldn't have figured that out until it was launched. And then there's challenges with templates and product pages and things like that. You can't really set them ahead of time until the theme is live. So my first thing was, okay, let's just get it launched. It's gotten to a place where I've tested it so much. I know the primary things are in place, that the pages are built, the templates are built, and that the functionality of the cart and product pages and apps are working, right? So that's the primary thing. I did what I could with analytics, making sure that that was tied in, moving over to GA4 and all of the fun things that have been going on in the e-commerce space to upgrade. And then just really tapping into the support of the partners and apps that we work with. I mean, I think approaching that with, respectfully reaching out and asking for help makes a world of difference for them and for me, right? So not being afraid to ask questions. Yeah. And then just watching it when it launched, making sure you guys were okay with where everything was. But I think you got to just kind of dive in and find out what happens.
Yeah. And I think the final thing is, if you make something beautiful, like if you invest that time, if you don't rush it, if you have beautiful photography, you have an interesting looking website, let the developer know, because they're going to want to highlight it. They're going to want to sell their product. They're going to want to show real companies and brands who are using their template. And that's a free link. And if, that's a good SEO. Where can people reach out to you or contact you or follow you if you're doing any of that?
Yeah, so I'm not extremely active on social media, but that's likely going to change. We just planted our garden, so we have a lot of things to post about now. My Instagram is @wood&shadow. And then you can also find me on Beardbrand. My email is jenny@beardbrand.com. Pretty straightforward there.
And no poaching her. Unlike the people who poached James away from me. Quit bringing my team on if that's what you guys do. All right, guys, this has been another e-commerce conversations. I hope you guys learned a little bit about what we're doing with our website. Again, check it out at beardbrand.com and head over to Practical E-commerce to get that link of all the templates that Jenny put together. Cheers. Keep on growing.